just like desire trees and can fulfill the desires of everyone. And is full of compassion.
Fallen conditioned soul. Blind. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Navallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Nandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Vrajajanayanyana Yamunathiravachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Sri Radhe Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Sri Radhe Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya 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 Gaurani Thai Gaurani Thai Gaurani Thai Jaya Gaurani Thai Jaya Gaurani Thai Jaya Gaurani Thai Jaya Gaurani Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Gopinnande Namo Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivacharacharya Starasata His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. The text for today is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, chapter 61, verse number 23. This chapter is about the different children that Krishna begot and his wives, especially the main wives, most important wives, and also the killing of Rukmi, which is coming up very soon. Yad yap Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Again, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 61, verse number 23. Yad 23. Yadyabhyanusmaram vairam Rukme Krishna vamanitaha Vyattarad bhagiyenaya Jaya sutam kurvam swasupriyam Yadyapyanusmaram vairam Rukme Krishna vamanitaha Vyattarad bhagineyaya Sitam kurvam swasupriyam Yadyapyanusmaram vairam Rukme Krishna vamanitaha Vyattarad bhagiyenaya Sitam kurvan swasupriyam. Devotees. Yajada apyanusmaram vairam Rukme Krishna vamanitaha Vyatara bhagineyaya Sitam kurvan swasupriyam. Yadyapi yanusmaram vairam Rukme Krishna vamanitaha Vyatara bhagineyaya Kurvan swasupriyam. Yadyapyanusmaram vairam Rukme Krishna vamanitaha Ambhyavihenaya Sutam kurvan swasupriyam. Yadyapyanusmaram vairam Rukme Krishna vamanitaha Vyattara bhagineyaya Sutam kurvam swasupriyam. Synonyms. Yadyapi, although. Anusmaran, always remembering. Vairam, his enmity. Rukmi, Krishna, by Lord Krishna. Avamanitaha, insulted. Vyatarat, granted. Bhagineyaya, to his sister's son. Sutam, his daughter. Kurvan, doing. Swasuhu, of his sister. Priyam, the pleasing. Translation and purport by the devotees, disciples of Srila Prabhupada. The Rukmi always remember his enmity toward Lord Krishna, who had insulted him. In order to please his sister, he sanctioned his daughter's marriage to his nephew. Please repeat. The Rukmi always remembered his enmity toward Lord Krishna, who had insulted him. In order to please his sister, he sanctioned his daughter's marriage to his nephew. Purport. The answer to King Parikshit's question is given here. Ultimately, Rukmini approved his daughter's marriage to Pradyumna in order to please his sister Rukmini. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpataruviyascha Kripa Sindhuvyevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, by your blessings, there may be something useful, practical, and enlightening in today's class. The purports by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Jiva Goswami and Sanatana Goswami are pretty much similar. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, here the answer is given. He agreed to this to please his sister who had saved his life, and that is to enable the daughter to his daughter's marriage to his nephew Pradyumna. Rukmini, this Jiva Goswami is saying, Rukmini arranged the Swayamvara to please Rukmini, but also to announce that he was only secondarily approving. And one of the elements here that is showing that Rukmini is secondarily approving of this wedding is that he, instead of selecting a husband for his daughter, he allows his daughter to have the Swayamvara, which means owns one's personal choice to select a husband. So in this way, he can wash his hands from creating a conflict by giving the daughter to another suitor, which is not in her liking. Or, remembering his enmity towards Krishna, he was always thinking of this. But by strong affection for his sister, who was the Lord's great Shakti, he gave his daughter to Pradyumna. Later also it is mentioned that he allowed the marriage to please his sister. The fact that Rukmini is very much a good brother to his sister is prevalent and is present throughout this chapter, in the sense that it is because of Rukmini that Rukmini acts in certain ways against actually his own nature and his own desires, out of love for his sister Rukmini, and seems to indicate that the power of enmity, the power of envy, the power of hatred cannot in any way override the power of love. It is because of Rukmini's love for his sister that he's enabling this marriage to take place. In Sanatana Goswami wrote, Rukmini always thought of his enemy Krishna, but gave his daughter out of affection for his sister Rukmini. Pradyumna had excellences since he was the embodiment of Cupid, Ananga Anga Yutaha. So there are so many elements here. We're going to be discussing a few of them. And the first thing I'm going to be talking about is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 1, and is verse 26 and verse 27. And this is explaining how enmity is not, in a way, is not detrimental to have feelings of enmity toward Krishna, but only in very specific individuals, not in everybody. Because actually to have a feeling of enmity toward Krishna is not at all desirable. It goes against the nature of the process of bhakti. It has nothing to do with bhakti, really. So I'm going to be reading from chapter 7, verse 26, where it is explained. Wait a minute, let me get there. 7:26, here. And this verse reads, "Therefore, by enmity or by devotional service, by fear, by affection, or by lusty desire, by all of these or any one of them, if a conditioned soul somehow or other concentrates his mind upon the Lord, the result is the same. For the Lord, because of his blissful position, is never affected by enmity or friendship." The one who is affected by enmity or friendship is the person who has this attitude toward the Supreme Lord. Krishna is not touched. Krishna is impervious. Whether the person is approaching him is completely absorbed in him, in enmity or in love, it's not something that affects Krishna. But it does affect the person who has those feelings. One of them is very favorable and is a pure devotion. Anything done, and this is a verse where it's explained what happens to those who take the attitude of enemies of the Supreme Lord. This is part of the purport. Anything done by those who have taken the attitude of enemies will be baffled. If these enemies try to be liberated or to merge into the existence of Brahman, if they desire to be elevated to the higher planetary systems as karmis, or even if they desire to return home back to Godhead, they will certainly be baffled. So this process of enmity is not recommended. In the case, we have the case of Hiranyakashipu, Rukmi, Kamsa, who are totally inimical to the Supreme Lord, and somehow or other they are saved by the Supreme Lord. Of course, we have to remember who these personalities are, like Shishupal and Dantavakra, like Jaya and Vijay, the different forms that the Jaya and Vijay servants of Narayan take in order to get back to their position in the spiritual world ASAP, rather than hang around for 7 lifetimes. They want fast return. So they are asking that, please allow us to be your enemies. And Krishna, who is all merciful, knows, oh, these people are going to give me battle, and this is going to add to the excitement and to the suspense of the activities. So very happily he agrees to that. And the next verse is Canto 127, chapter 1, verse 27. Narada Muni is the one who is giving all these instructions. Narada Muni continued, by devotional service, this is the introduction toward the story of Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad Maharaj. By devotional service, one cannot achieve such intense absorption in thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as one can through enmity toward him. That is my opinion. I'll read the verse again. This is Narada Muni speaking. By devotional service, one cannot achieve such intense absorption in thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as one can through enmity toward him. That is my opinion. An example of this would be, for example, who personifies this absolute Hiranyakashipu? Kamsa, right? Totally absorbed in thoughts of Krishna with intense desire to annihilate Krishna, with the desire to eventually get rid of Krishna, which is, of course, an oxymoron. Krishna can never be eliminated. So I'm going to read, going back to chapter 54 of the Krishna book, I'm going to read a section about Rukmi. And let's see what is being said here. This is the Krishna book, summary of the whole chapter. After hearing such enlightening instructions from Sri Balaram, because Sri Balaram is consoling Rukmini, and so he's giving her all kinds of instructions, giving her all kinds of information that is to appease her heart. In regards to the way that Rukmi has been defeated by Lord Krishna. After hearing such enlightening instructions from Sri Balaram, Rukmini immediately became pacified and happy, and adjusted her mind, which was very much afflicted by the degraded position of her brother Rukmi. We know that her brother Rukmi had vowed that he was going to kill Krishna in battle, but if he couldn't kill Krishna, then that he was going to go elsewhere. He was not going to go back to his kingdom. He would create his own kingdom, and he would never go back to his own kingdom. As far as Rukmi was concerned, his promise was not fulfilled of killing Krishna, nor was his mission successful. He had come from home with his soldiers and military phalanx to defeat Krishna and release his sister. But on the contrary, he lost all his soldiers and military strength. And remember that Krishna also chopped his hair and kind of disfigured him, which was a great insult, especially to a Kshatriya. He was generally degraded and very sorry. But by the grace of the Lord, he could continue his life to his fixed destination. Because he was a Kshatriya, he could remember his promise that he would not return to his capital, Kundina, without killing Krishna and releasing his sister, which he had failed to do. Therefore, he decided in anger not to return to his capital city, and he constructed a small cottage in the village known as Bojakata, where he resided for the rest of his life. That was the kingdom that he created, eventually became a big city. So we have to be aware of these 2 points, that absorption in Krishna can be very, very intense, even more intense in enmity and fear, like in the case of Kamsa, and in love. But actually, the love is really prominent, is the one that is going to come out victorious, because that's what is desired. So I was looking at absorption in Krishna consciousness, and there's a whole flurry of references to become what it is to become absorbed in the Supreme Lord in love. For example, in the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, verse number 24, it says, Krishna says, a person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute, and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. In other words, there is no loss. Everything is geared to becoming absolutely absorbed and eventually going back home, back to Godhead, to do personal service to the Supreme Lord. When the mind is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, it is said to be in samadhi or trance. Anything done in such transcendental consciousness is called yajna, or sacrifice for the Absolute. Remember, the sacrifice, the etymology is from the Latin, to make something sacred. And so, yukta varaya means sacrifice. Sacrifice is not that we have to self-flagellate or perform really severe austerities. It means that we have to dedicate everything, that's the injunction, to the Supreme Lord, because then we can enter into the transcendental atmosphere, even if we are still here and we're still full of debris that needs to be cleared. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, the absolute truth covered by Maya is called matter. Matter, dovetailed for the cause of the absolute truth, regains its spiritual quality. So matter actually can be going toward degradation or upliftment of the spirit soul. Krishna consciousness is the process of converting the illusory consciousness into Brahman, and that's again Yukta Vairagya, through Yukta Vairagya, sacrifice. When the mind is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, it is said to be in samadhi, in trance. So this is something that we can be very aware of, that the goal is to become absolutely absorbed in love in Krishna and in the process of devotional service. So I took this as the subject matter for this class to talk about full absorption. And remember that I introduced first the enmity, the envy, and the hatred that is so intense that actually also allows one to become fully absorbed in Krishna in a way that is not recommended. But in these personalities like Kamsa, Hiranyakashipu, it's because of the different situations in their lives that they're going to be taking into transcendent at some level, because they're personally taken care of by Krishna, like in the case of Rudrani, which is the personality we're talking about in this chapter. And then in Bhagavad Gita chapter 8, verse 27, Krishna says, the best way to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness is to be always dovetailed in his service. And this will make one's path to the spiritual world safe, certain, and direct. So what is the key word here? I'm going to read this again. And you please let me know what the key word is. The best way to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness is to be always dovetailed in his service. And this will make one's path to the spiritual kingdom safe, certain, and direct. What is the key word? Always, always. That's the key. Always. To be absorbed in Krishna comes and goes. Sometimes we're absorbed in Krishna, sometimes we're absorbed in our own desires. But to be always absorbed in Krishna, that's the goal. A devotee of the Supreme Lord should not worry whether he will depart by arrangement or by accident. The devotee should be firmly established in Krishna consciousness and chant Hare Krishna. He should know that concern over either of these two paths is troublesome, whether he's going to depart by arrangement or by accident. Don't worry about that. Srila Prabhupada says in his purport, the best way to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness is to be always dovetailed in his service, and this will make one's path to the spiritual kingdom safe, certain, and direct. The word yukta, is specifically significant in this verse. One who is firm in yoga is constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness in all his activities. Srila Rupa Goswami advises, anasaktasya vishayan yartaham upayuh jataha. One should be unattached in material affairs and do everything in Krishna consciousness. By this system, which is called Yukta Vairagya, one attains perfection. Therefore, the devotee is not disturbed by these descriptions, because he knows that his passage to the Supreme Abode is guaranteed by devotional service. And I was thinking about how we can have this intent to absorb ourselves in the process of devotion by being aware that every activity in our daily life can be directed or in service to the Supreme Lord. And it takes many lifetimes to come to the perfectional stage. So we do what we can at the level that we are capable, and we pray to the Supreme Lord to actually accept our best intentions to connect with Him. And something that I've been wanting to say for a long time that just came to my mind is we can do so many things for our self-improvement, for our self-betterment. But one of the things that is required, that pleases the Supreme Lord very, very much, that we engage in by choosing to do that, is something that we want to engage in order to please the Supreme Lord is, and now the floor is open, so you please come up with your suggestions and recommendations. We're not alone. It's not about us. None of this is about us. That's a clue. Any ideas? Everything you're going to say is going to be correct. We can do so many things. We can intend to do so many things. How about treating the devotees? How important is that? If a man has children and his secretary wants to get the favor of his master or his whatever, CEO, whatever it is, he will take care of the children. He will be kind to the children. He will provide to the children. He will treat the children very well. So the Supreme Lord has unlimited numbers of living entities that he loves profusely. I mean, there's no end to his love for us. So what about you will say, okay, I want to please the Supreme Lord by pleasing his devotees, by treating the devotees properly, by being kind to the devotees, by stop correcting the devotees, by giving encouragement to the devotees, by being helpful, having a conscious desire and a conscious attitude toward that aspect. Do you have any comments on this? Would anybody like to say something about this? I hope I'm not putting anybody on the spot. I think that's something we should consider. Can you give Omkara the microphone, please? Because Omkara Prabhu wants to say something. Because we can have all these highfalutin ideas, or I want to do this, I'm going to perform this way, and I'm going to make sure everything is correctly done. But what about those other living entities who are also with us performing devotional service, in whose association we feel elevated and we feel encouraged?
It's amazing how Krishna allows you to remember him through amenity, through amenity, like to being his, his, like he's even cursing him, you can be delivered, Krishna, yes, I don't know, I was having problem also. Enmity, when you remember Krishna not as a friend, but as an enemy, still he delivers you, But that's not the best way. The devotees shouldn't go through that route. But so many have been delivered. I mean, the Rukmini will be delivered also, I'm pretty sure. He had so much immunity, and there are many others, who have been doing Shishupal. I mean, he was just behaving crazy, and so many others, all these demons were fighting. Now, other thing I noticed that, like Krishna's family, they are marrying within relatives in a way. In our tradition, it doesn't happen. Like in some parts of India, it does happen. But in northern India and most of, they don't marry in the family at all. Because in our tradition, there are 4 gotras: mother's gotra, then father's gotra, and same thing on lady's side. So if they match...
Is that what you call family lineage? Family, gotra, family lineage?
Yeah. So which is the lineage, you're coming from, And if they match, then they don't marry, because they are then considered as brothers or sisters, so that they don't tend to get married. But in South India, sometimes there is some tradition, like you can marry your maternal uncle's maternal uncle daughter or something like that. So So that's interesting.
And what is the purpose of this kind of injunctions and this kind of regulations? What would you say is the purpose of having these regulations in regards, what? Genetics, of course, genetics.
Yeah.
You want to have the microphone? But not creating defects, genetic defects, yes. And the thing is that I was looking through this point in the verses that precede and continue after today's verse, and there's no reference made to that, even though that's extremely important. But it is what is being explained in Bhagavatam for these verses today and coming up is that you don't marry into the family of enemies. That's what it said. This marriage shouldn't take place into the family of your enemy. And this is what's happening here. Because Pradyumna is marrying into Pradyumna, on Krishna's line, is marrying into Rukmi's line. And that's what's being presented. I don't know if further on the idea of genetics will be brought up. But I was looking for it and I couldn't find it. That's the only thing I was able to find, yeah.
I think there is a difference in the genetics also, like...
Can you use the microphone? Can you use the microphone?
Your mother's, like your mother's families, like the relatives there, are considered, there is a distance in the genetics there, rather than on your father's brother's child. Kind of thing. So I don't know what the scientific is, but this whole family thing is because the closer you are genetically, then the chances of the children having problems, is more. And we see that actually there's scientifically shown in some of the Muslim traditions, like when we were in Abu Dhabi, we were finding that the number of special education kids in schools was much higher as a percentage of the total population. And that was attributed to too many marriages within cousins, first cousins.
Okay. Thank you very much. So going back to the text of absorption, I'm going to read something from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's a lecture by Srila Prabhupada on the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 20, verses 124 and 125. It's a class given in New York. It doesn't say the year. Prabhupada speaks, the highest kind of worship is as demonstrated by the damsels of Vrindavan, the girlfriends of Krishna. Of course, this is the topmost in absorption to the Supreme Lord, Vrindavan, the pastimes of Vrindavan. And the highest one in Vrindavan is the girlfriends, the gopis. Yes, they had no adulteration. Simply, they were always thinking of Krishna. Krishna is going outside of the village, and they were thinking at home, oh, Krishna, I mean to say, the sole of his feet are so soft. How is he wandering in the jungle? There are so many particles of stone. Must be pricking. In this way, Krishna is there. They are at home, but they're thinking of Krishna, how he's walking, how his soft feet are suffering. In this way, they are always absorbed in Krishna consciousness. They are not Vedantists. They are not Brahmanas. They are not educated. In other words, we don't need to be Vedantists, Brahmanas, or educated, and we are not definitely cowherd girls. But their love for Krishna is so intense that Lord Chaitanya recommends, there is no better worship than that is being demonstrated by the damsels of Vrindavan. So it's not that we have to be so materially qualified. We may be very materially qualified and very spiritually disqualified. Or we may be materially disqualified and very qualified. One, not me, absolutely not. And a person, when the devotees can be very, very qualified spiritually, but materially, they may be lacking. But what does that matter? Because now we're facing the reality of who we are and understanding by the grace of Sri Guru and by the books by Srila Prabhupada, etc., who we are, what is the purpose of our existence, what is the goal of our life, and how to conduct ourselves in a way to come to that goal. There is another class, Madhya Lila 20, verses 391 to 405 in New York, and we know this verse because we've heard it many times. Yamunacharya, this is Srila Prabhupada speaking. Yamunacharya was a great king. Later on, he became a great devotee. He has written his life's experience in one verse, Yad avadi mama chitta Krishna padaravindayor. So long my mind and attention are absorbed in Krishna consciousness, tavavadi. Since then, tavavadi bhatta nari sangame, sex life. As soon as I remember about that, it becomes very nasty thing for me. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavatam ki jai. God Premanande, all glories to the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalem Priya Priti Manti Vasyan Dipan Dikayanti Chiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham
Namaste Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Sunyavadi Paschachadesa Tarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Sunyavadi Paschachadesa Yasomati Nandana Brajo Barunagara Gokularam Jana Kana Dana Brajo Barunagara Gokularam Jana Kana Yasomati Nandana Brajo Barunagara Gokularam Jana Kana Soma Nandana Brajo Barunagara Gokularam Jana Kana Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Kaliyadamuna Vidana Kaliyadamuna Vidana Kaliyadamuna Vidana Kaliyadamuna Amala Harinam Mamiya Vilasa Amala Harinam Mamiya Vilasa Ipina Purandara Navina Nagara Bora Vansivadana Suvasa Randara Navina Nagara Bora Vansivadana Suvasa Vipina Purandara Navina Nagara Bora Vansivadana Suvasa Vipina Purandara Navina Nagara Bora Vansivadana Suvasa Brajajana Palana Sura Kulana Sana Brajajana Palana Sura Kulana Brajajana Palana Sura Kulana Sana Nanda Godanara Koala Nanda Godanara Koala Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Sundarananda Gopala Sundarananda Gopala Jamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasanahara Rasa Rasika Kripa Moya Jamuna tatachara gopivasanara rasarasika kripamoya. Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natavara Sri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natavara Vakati Vinoda Sraya Vakati Vinoda Sraya Somatinandana Brajo Barunagara Gokularam Janakana Amala Harina Mamiya Vilasa Amala Harina Mamiya Vilasa Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Sri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natavara Bhakti Vinoda Sraya Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayo Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radhe Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Nitai Gaura Haribo Haribo, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Sila Prabhupada.
The attractor of Cupid, messenger of the serpent Kalia. These pure holy names of Lord Hari are sweet nectarian pastimes, Lord of 12 forests of Braj, ever youthful, the best of lovers, player of the flute, and excellent dresser, protector of the inhabitants of Braj, destroyer of the demoniac dynasties, keeper and tender of Nanda's cows, giver of pleasure to cows, land, and spiritual senses, husband of the goddess of fortune, butter thief, and beautiful little cowherd boy of Nanda Maharaj, wanderer of the Yamuna riverbanks, thief of the garments of the gopis, enjoyer of the mellows of the rasa dance, very merciful, lover and beloved of Sri Radha, the great dancer of Vrindavan, and the only shelter of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai. And a reminder that Harinam Sankirtan on Saturday, 4 to 6 in Durham at 5 Points. It's going to be a nice day. Please come out and we can have a nice kirtan for lots and lots of people on the street. Hare Krishna. Chaityadarpanam marjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam shreya kairavya chandrika vitaranam vijabadu jivanam anandam buddhi vardhanam patipanam purnamrita swaranam sarvatma snapanam param vijayate Shri Krishna sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shakti. So many hyacinths.
These are actually snowballs.
Snow, wow. Beautiful. Urdaiva Midrishami Hajjani Nanuraga Trinada Pisu Nichena Terora Pisu Hishuna Rumani Namana Dena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhakti Ahoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Bhatitam Mam Vijame Bhavam Buddha Kripayata Vabada Bhankaja Stita Duri Sajashim Vachintaya Nayanam Galashu Daraya Varanam Gadgadridaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanama Grahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlisha Vapadamritam Banastumam Adarshanam Marma Hatakarotuva Yatatava Vidadatulam Patomat Prananatastu Sa Evanapara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh, my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of